Welcome back, this is Zeb here. Today we are gonna rank the official studio albums by Soft Machine. First thing I'd like to say is I'm not including any of the archival releases like this, and I'd also like to mention that usually I prefer the live versions over the studio versions. A good example is Esther's Nose Job, the finale of Soft Machine 2. And yeah, so let's dive into it. 11th place, probably no surprise to those who know Soft Machine. This is the land of cocaine. By this point, Soft Machine weren't really Soft Machine. We still had John Marshall in the band, who joined in '72, and we also had Carl Jenkins, who also joined the same year. And this album basically is a Carl Jenkins solo album. He enlists Jack Bruce on bass, Ray Wallet, he was a guest earlier on, Dick Morrissey, Alan Holdsworth. Not that you really can hear too much Holdsworth on this album, except the very best song on this album. You get Alan Parker, John Taylor, Tony Rivers, Stu Calver, and John G. Perry. Why is this my least liked Soft Machine album, and probably also yours? Because it basically isn't Soft Machine. There are some flashbacks to earlier Soft Machine, some of the ambient stuff and some of the more jazzy stuff are still featured. Highlights on this is Panoramania, Behind the Crystal Curtain, and also Palace of Glass. And the opener, Over and Above, I wouldn't say it's a great song, but it's okay. I don't mind it. Of course, this was the album by Soft Machine that I bought the last, because everybody told me to stay away from it. But as a completist, I bought it. I had to buy it. This isn't technically a pure studio album. Soft Machine alive and well. There are, though, some studio tracks on it, like Soft Space, were all recorded in the studio, at least according to the liner notes of this deluxe edition. And at least, and also the track Soft Space, which basically is a disco song. Would you believe it? Psychedelic, jazzy Soft Machine doing a disco song. It is in fact a very decent tune, and now the truth can be told, Mike Ratledge is in fact on this song, even if he left in 1976, the last founding member of the band. Why do I place this as second least favorite album? If I were to include the bonus disc, it would maybe fare higher. But the main studio album is basically just one long song during side A and side B, then 8 minutes of Soft Space. There are some incredible guitar playing on this by John Etheridge, and the band is on this album John Marshall, Carl Jenkins, John Etheridge, with Rick Sanders and Steve Cook. I would not recommend anyone to start with this album either. Then maybe some won't agree with me with Soft Machine 5 or 5th. The reason I place this as my third least liked Soft Machine album is all of the songs on here was performed better live with Robert Wyatt or with Phil Howard or John Marshall. Side 1 of this album, we get of course Phil Howard on drums, which was fired pretty quickly after this was recorded, and they hired John Marshall from Nucleus, which in fact was their which was the member they wanted to have after they fired the mighty Robert Wyatt, sadly. Of course, every song on this album is good, but it's such a letdown when you get to know the live version of All White, of Drop, of As If, Piggling Bland. So yes, third least played, let's say it that way, is Soft Machine 5. I would highly urge you to check out any live versions from 72. You have the excellent 2-disc set from Cuneiform called Live in Paris 72, and also a later one recently released called The Dutch Lesson. Well, fourth least played Soft Machine album, it is Soft. And this is an interesting album. Of course, Soft Machine by this point were a completely different band. This is the album where Mike Rutledge leaves the band. He is featured on Ban Ban Caliban, and he is also featured on Song of Our Olives, which both are incredibly good songs. My main, let's call it, problem with this album is side B is basically, would I dare call it, filler songs? Like there's a drum solo, there's this guitar solo that's out of this world. But recommended songs on this one is The Tale of Taliesin, Ban Ban Caliban, and Song of Aolios. Also, second bundle is a nice little ditty. And the ending song, Etika, is like a minute of acoustic guitar. And it's not that bad. It isn't that bad. Then we are nearing the middle of my ranking. So sorry, dear hardcore Soft Machine fans. I thought long and hard. And I came to the conclusion that the debut album by Soft Machine fits nicely right here. Of course, every song is good. Hope for Happiness, Joy of a Toy, Why Am I So Short, So Boot It All, A Certain Kind, maybe the weakest of them all, Save Yourself, maybe a little naive, but still good. Priscilla, Lullaby Letter is a great tune. We Did It Again, it's a classic. Plus Belle, Coup une pour Belle, it's like a mini, just a segment. And then we get Why Are We Sleeping, which is of course a classic. And it ends with a short little ditty with, in fact, future member Q Chopper. The song is called Box 25 for Lid. And it is a very decent debut album. This is pure psychedelia, early proto prog maybe. There are not a lot of jazz in it. It's a mixture of psychedelia, a little bit jazzy, a little bit progressive. It's a good combination, and overall it is a good album. I would recommend it, but I wouldn't start with this album. You might disagree, and that's okay. Now we are straight in the middle, and this is where I place Soft Machine 7. What to say about this album? Here you notice Mike Ratledge is doing less in terms of composition. The band is starting to be dominated by Carl Jenkins' writings, and he writes quite a lot of good songs on this album. The only song that I don't enjoy is Down the Road and maybe Penny Hitch. The rest is fantastic. There are some really nice ambient songs to be found on this album. And yes, this is the first with Roy Babington on bass. Hugh Chopper, as we know, left the band, so now we're only stuck with one original member, and that is Mike Ratledge. And a very interesting album, but again, don't start here. Well, of course, you could try Day's End maybe, for a very nice song. Carol Ann is also a great tune. We move on. And now we are at my 5th favorite Soft Machine album. Yes, it is Bundles. Hated by early Soft Machine fans and loved by later Soft Machine fans. This is the album with Alan Holdsworth. And they took quite some time with this album. It was in fact recorded July '74, and it was not released until I think mid '75. This is the deluxe edition. You get a brilliant live concert, but here of course Alan Holdsworth have left the band, so they recruit John Etheridge, and he does just a fantastic job, just as good as Alan. What to say about Bundles, the songs? This is one of those Soft Machine albums you need to hear from start to finish, in my opinion. And this is a great remastered released, I think last year. Every song is great. The A-side is Hazard Profile, part 1 to 5, which is a remake of a Nucleus song called Song for a Bearded Lady. But here they just take it to another dimension. Side B is a collection of some short acoustic guitar ditties, some ambient keyboard songs, a drum solo, and it ends with The Floating World. A perfect ending to a perfect album. And this I'd rank full dice a 10 out of 10. Next, some I'm probably a little surprised that I play Soft Machine 6 as my 4th favorite Soft Machine album. I have a very soft spot for this album because this was after I've heard the early days, you know, Soft Machine 1, 2 and the 3rd. I bought this on LP and I loved it, and I still love it. This was originally a 2 LP set where side 1 was recorded live in concerts and side and LP2 was done in the studio. The live concert is fantastic, but the studio side is maybe a little bit better. You get the Soft Weed Factor, which is one of my all-time favorite Soft Machine songs. You get Stanley Stam's Gibbon albums, again one of my favorite songs. Chloe and the Pirates, again one of my favorite songs. And Hitch Farewell to Soft Machine, called 1983. And for those who knows Hitch, or don't know, I should say, you should check out his first solo album called 1984. So yes, Soft Machine 6. Again, 10 out of 10. For me that is. Third best Soft Machine album. And these three at the top, I could interchange them any day really. This was just a random throw of the dice in a way. Before I did start recording this ranking video. This is Soft Machine at its finest. You get Robert White singing, you get Robert White drumming, you get Hitch playing bass and fuzz buzz, and you get Mike Rutledge fantastic organ playing. This is this stupid remaster which you should avoid. I'd recommend go for the Big Beat twofer, either on CD or LP. It is easily available and not that expensive. And this album also in a way is just based on two songs interwoven, you know. Side A is rhythmic melodies, which was demoed by Robert White, more or less. Not everything, but the basics of it was demoed by Robert White in 1968 after their Hendrix tour. And side B is, I guess, mostly Mike Rutledge compositions, Esther's Nose Job. Of course, Hitch have some input on some of the songs. It is a masterpiece, but as I said earlier in my video, many of Soft Machine songs I do prefer the live versions of. Then what's my second favorite Soft Machine album? Third, of course. Of course it's third. Some of you probably wonder, why the hell haven't I placed this as my favorite? Because it is your favorite. Well, some days it is my favorite, all-time favorite album by Soft Machine. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt that this is a masterpiece of progressive fusion jazz. There weren't that many bands around doing this kind of jazz back in 1969, 1970. They were and are pioneers, I think. And the original album was a double album. They opened with Facelift, in fact a live version of it. What can I say? It's a masterpiece. Slightly All the Time, again, a masterpiece. Moon and June, the only song with vocals, and the last Soft Machine song ever to feature lead vocals on a Soft Machine song. And it ends with maybe my favorite song of all time by Soft Machine, Out Bloody Rages. Third. And then we come to my personal top number one Soft Machine album. It is the highly underrated album, Fourth. And I don't get it, because so many fans They were so disappointed by this. The only thing I can agree on is there could have been some white vocals here and there. But if you put on side B of this virtually, which was written by Hitch, you will probably agree with me that this is like it is like their third album, but they take it to a whole new level. And the sound quality of this is in fact fantastic. Soft Machine Third have always been criticized for the bad sound quality, but that's just the way it is, you know. They can't polish an album that was recorded not that good, but you can always find live versions with better audio. You can find them on any archive release, like this one, like Backwards, like Grides, like Virtuality, and so forth. So yes, that was my ranking of the 11 official Soft Machine studio albums. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave a comment, feel free to rank yours, and have a nice day.